This is BRICS Global Television Network's Daily Roundup. We begin with the headlines. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa will soon announce an inclusive cabinet as part of the promised government of national unity. Scorching temperatures in Saudi Arabia as millions carry out the Hajj pilgrimage. China hopes to strengthen ties with Australia and sweetens the deal with 2 new giant pandas. And Russian and Belarusian athletes named ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympics. Hello, I'm Juliet Newell. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, securing a second term despite his party's diminished majority, will soon unveil an inclusive cabinet as part of a promised government of national unity. Following the inconclusive May 29th general election, where no party secured an outright victory, Ramaphosa's re-election as president on Friday drew congratulations from global leaders, including US President Joe Biden, who emphasized continued cooperation between the two nations. The election marked a significant shift for South Africa, ending decades of the African National Congress Party's dominance since the dawn of democracy 30 years ago. The ANC, acknowledging its reduced influence, pledged to prioritize national interests over political differences, forming a unity government that includes the Democratic Alliance, the Inkatha Freedom Party, and other factions. The Economic Freedom Fighters Party, however, does not support Ramaphosa's government of national unity.
We will not participate, as I've indicated, in the government of national unity because that is a plan B for the Oppenheimer family. We will not participate with the DA and the Freedom Front in the same cabinet. We have made it very clear to the President that we are not against the government of national unity. We are against the inclusion of the DA and the Freedom Front Plus, because that represent imperialism, represent racism and white supremacy, represent backwardness.
Despite the historic parliamentary session overseen by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, where MPs were sworn in and leadership elected, skepticism remains among South Africans, particularly the alliance between long-standing rivals, the ANC and the DA, traditionally the country's main opposition parties. Meanwhile, former President Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto we Sizwe parties filed a petition with the Electoral Court seeking to invalidate the May election results, citing alleged serious irregularities. The months-old party claimed it would likely have won without these irregularities and wants the court to order President Cyril Ramaphosa to conduct a new election within 90 days. The party secured 14.5% of the vote, equivalent to 58 seats in the National Assembly. The National Assembly comprises 400 members. This move follows the Constitutional Court's dismissal of their application for direct access to challenge the election outcome, deeming it meritless due to lack of evidence supporting their claim of unfairness. In their submission to the Electoral Court, Umkhonto we Sizwe reiterates the allegations of electoral rigging and fraud against the Electoral Commission of SA, criticizing its handling of objections from political parties as dismissive and unlawful. The party argues that approximately 576 unresolved objections cast doubt on the election's lawfulness, potentially depriving them of victory and the opportunity to govern. Thousands of Muslims gathered under scorching heat atop Mount Arafat over the weekend for the pinnacle of the annual Hajj pilgrimage. Donning white garments, worshippers began arriving at dawn for this demanding day, scaling the 70-meter hill where Prophet Muhammad delivered his final sermon. With temperatures soaring to 46 degrees Celsius, conditions were arduous for pilgrims who had spent the previous night in Mina's expansive tent city. The pilgrimage saw 1.8 million participants this year, matching last year's turnout. According to the state-affiliated Al Akhbariya channel, The Hajj faces increasing challenges from climate change, with regional temperatures rising 0.4 degrees Celsius per decade, as noted in a recent Saudi study. Authorities urged pilgrims to stay hydrated and shield themselves from the sun during the 5-day outdoor rituals. Men, forbidden from wearing hats, relied on umbrellas for protection. Following Mount Arafat, pilgrims proceeded to Muzdalifah, the symbolic stoning of the devil in Mina, tracing Prophet Muhammad's final pilgrimage 1,400 years ago. The Hajj holds profound cultural and economic importance for Saudi Arabia, bolstering its role as custodian of 2 holy mosques and contributing significantly to religious tourism, a key diversification effort from crude oil dependence. China's announced it'll loan Australia a new pair of adorable giant pandas to replace Wang Wang and Fu Ni, who have been at Adelaide Zoo since 2009 without producing offspring, Premier Li Qiang revealed on Sunday. The pandas were part of a global conservation initiative and served as a cornerstone of China's panda diplomacy. Breeding pandas is notoriously challenging due to their low reproductive rates. And despite efforts, including artificial insemination, hopes of cubs in Adelaide were repeatedly dashed. The Premier, visiting Adelaide on a fence-mating trip, followed trade sanctions, confirmed Wang Wang and Fu Ni would return to China by the year's end. We will provide a new pair of equally beautiful, lovely and adorable pandas as soon as possible, Li assured, adding that China would provide candidates for selection. Foreign Minister Penny Wong welcomed the gesture, noting its positive impact on the economy, South Australian jobs, tourism and bilateral relations. The announcement emphasises efforts to stabilise relations between the 2 nations, acknowledging Wong's efforts and reflecting China's commitment to conservation amid ongoing threats to the giant panda population, which remains vulnerable despite a partial recovery in recent years. And in India, one man's walking the talk when it comes to the fight against climate change. Chetan Singh Solanki has been travelling across India for 11 years now in a bus powered by solar energy. Our BGTN India correspondent Venkat Narayan put this story together.
I really want to change the world, because the manner world is generating and consuming energy is not helping us, and it is actually creating problems. Climate change is worsening every single year, and if you are not going to do anything right now, we will never be able to do anything. So we need to treat this as a very, very urgent subject. We need immediate and drastic action, because this is an emergency. I believe that the whole world is a play of energy, and it is now suffering because of the wrong energy. So we have to go away from the wrong energy to the right energy. But that right energy, the clean or solar energy, should also be used in the right way. And it has to be done at the right time. So the whole purpose of this journey is to go away from wrong energy to the right energy in the right way, in the right time, and the whole world should be doing it, because anybody's and everybody's activity results in carbon emission. So if I do it and my country does it and neighboring country does not do it, we still suffer, because carbon dioxide once emitted has no boundaries. So therefore it is a global problem, and the purpose of Yatra is to bring a global change in the manner that we are generating and consuming energy. So therefore I believe that the first thing and the most important thing that any government, including United Nations, should do is make people energy literate. So energy literacy, and that's why I write always very strongly on my shirt that I am energy literate, are you? It is the illiteracy of the world that has created the problem, and I would sincerely believe that United Nations should take it as the most important project, and to make sure that everybody is energy literate in a shortest possible time. And because it is energy that has created a problem, can we start doing fasting of energy? And by not buying clothes, not traveling, is actually we are doing energy fast. So let us all start our energy fast right away. Let us all cleanse the environment that we have polluted over a period of time. The climate clock is ticking. We are very close to the global warming threshold temperature when irreversible change is going to start, which is another 5 years from now, and in another 20-25 years it will be completely irreversible. So we don't have so much of time. So I believe that the nature will help us to put the stick behind us and tell us through all these catastrophic events of floods and cyclones and droughts and heat waves that look guys, time is running out, take action right now. So I hope it will not take me 25 years. I hope, hopefully really, that maybe in few years or 4 or 5 years everybody will become energy literate and everybody will start to make a transition from a careless user of energy to cautious user of energy. So I request every parent in all BRICS countries, please, have some mercy on your children. Let us all give them a livable planet where they can all breathe, drink and eat properly.
In just a bit, BRICS+Business.
For many, dance in Africa is a rich cultural expression, serving various purposes like entertainment and religious rituals. However, over thousands of years, dance in Africa has been used as a secret way to communicate, sometimes during birth and death, frequently to each other, and at times directly to the gods.
We start in China, where newly released data indicates a mixed economic picture for May, with retail sales showing improvement while industrial production growth slows. This divergence suggests an uneven recovery in the world's second largest economy. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, Chinese retail sales, a crucial indicator of consumer spending, increased by 3.7% year-on-year in May, up from April's 2.3% rise and surpassing analyst expectations of a 3% increase, as per a Bloomberg survey. However, industrial production expanded at a slower pace, recording a 5.6% growth in May, down from 6.7% in April, and below the forecasted 6.2%. The NBS described May's economic performance as generally stable, noting ongoing recovery and improvement. The data reflects tentative optimism that Chinese consumers are returning to shopping amid economic uncertainties. Yet challenges persist, including a declining urban property market, which saw prices continue to fall in May despite recent government measures aimed at supporting the real estate sector. Meanwhile, German companies operating in China are grappling with significant challenges, primarily driven by falling prices and subdued demand. That's according to a report released by a business association on Monday. The German Chamber of Commerce's survey of 186 companies highlighted that 61% of respondents identified pressure on prices as their foremost concern in Chinese markets. The issue is being exacerbated by an economic slowdown in China and geopolitical tensions, which have dampened consumer spending. The automotive sector, comprising 21% of surveyed companies, particularly feels the strain. China, the largest global market for cars and a leader in electric vehicle production, has seen a proliferation of domestic EV brands supported by state subsidies. However, oversupply and decreased consumer spending have triggered a pricing war among manufacturers, impacting profitability for foreign and domestic players alike. Maximilian Butek, head of the German Chamber of Commerce, emphasized the necessity for German firms to enhance their competitiveness amidst these challenging conditions. He also criticized European sanctions, warning they would not bolster Europe's automotive industry competitiveness and could provoke retaliatory measures, detriment to German giants like Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz and BMW. And Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund and a French private equity group are set to acquire a significant 37.62% stake in Heathrow Airport. Heathrow, among the world's busiest airports, is currently owned by FGP Topco Limited Consortium, led by Spanish infrastructure giant Ferrovial, holding a 25% stake. Initially, Ferrovial had planned to divest its stake, with Saudi Arabia's public investment fund purchasing 10% and the remaining 15% going to French firm Ardian. However, complications arose when smaller shareholders within FGP invoked tag-along rights, demanding the option to sell their shares under the same terms. And in response, Ardian and the Public Investment Fund revised their offer, proposing to acquire the majority of Ferrovial's stake for $4.1 billion. Ferrovial accepted this revised bid, with Ardian acquiring approximately 22.6% of the shares and the Public Investment Fund taking 15%. Ferrovial, renowned for its expertise in managing transport infrastructure globally, including airports in Turkey and New York, originally acquired a majority stake in Heathrow in 2006, but has since reduced its holdings. Despite Heathrow's stature as a major international hub, Ferrovial no longer considers it a core asset. The transaction, still pending regulatory approval, marks a strategic shift for Ferrovial, which will retain a 5.25% stake in FGP Topco following the intervention of smaller shareholders. Heathrow Airport, located in London, England, is one of the busiest airports globally, serving as a major international hub, handling millions of passengers annually. It offers extensive connectivity to destinations worldwide. The airport plays a crucial role in global air travel, facilitating flights for both leisure and business travellers. Heathrow Airport has reported a total of 81.5 million passengers passing through its terminals by the end of May 2024, up from 71.6 million the previous year. Coming up, Yolanda Pondo with BRICS+Sports.
Your passport to discovery. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or an armchair traveler, BGTN Discover promises to inspire your wanderlust and broaden your horizons. Pack your curiosity, sense of adventure, and open heart as we set forth on a voyage of a lifetime. Watch BGTN Discover on StarSat Channel 120 as we transport you to a new corner of the world. Get ready to explore, dream, and discover with BGTN Discover.
Hello, I'm Yolanda Pondo with your BRICS+Sports updates. The International Olympic Committee has announced the inclusion of 14 Russian and 11 Belarusian athletes on the initial list of individual neutral athletes eligible to compete in the upcoming Paris Games. These athletes, spanning 4 disciplines, have undergone rigorous scrutiny to ensure they have not supported the war in Ukraine or maintained ties with their respective countries' armed forces. Among those approved are 16 wrestlers, 2 weightlifters, 3 trampoline gymnasts and 4 road cyclists. including Alexander Vlasov, a notable participant in the 2021 Giro d'Italia. Vyacheslav Ekimov, president of the Russian Cycling Federation, expressed satisfaction with the decision, particularly highlighting Vlasov's participation. However, there have been mixed feelings from federation heads like Nikolai Makarov of the Russian Trampolining Federation, who has expressed disappointment over some athletes not making the list. Meanwhile, the absence of Russian Taekwondo athletes has been confirmed by Vadim Ivanov, Russia's Taekwondo head coach. Ukraine's sports minister Matvey Bidny welcomed the IOC's decision, particularly praising the exclusion of what he termed outspoken propagandists from the Games, a sentiment supported by evidence submitted to the IOC by Ukrainian authorities and investigative journalists. Initially, the IOC had barred Russian and Belarusian athletes from international competition following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. But later revised its stance, allowing for participation under neutral status. The final count of athletes may vary as qualification rounds conclude, with sports like track and field imposing their own bans despite the IOC's adjustments. Meanwhile, Australia's head swimming coach Rohan Taylor has advised his Olympic team to remain focused amid a doping scandal involving Chinese swimmers, labelling it as a waste of energy to be distracted by external controversies. In April, reports surfaced revealing that 23 Chinese swimmers had tested positive for trimetazidine, a prescription heart drug known to enhance performance, before the Tokyo Olympics in 2021. Despite this, they faced no suspensions or sanctions after Chinese authorities attributed the results to food contamination at their hotel. The controversy resurfaced recently when the New York Times reported that 3 Chinese swimmers, including 2 gold medalists from 2021 and a current world record holder, had tested positive for banned substances in earlier separate cases. China maintained that these cases resulted from inadvertently ingesting banned substances through contaminated meat. Taylor emphasized that his teams should focus only on what they can control. Internally, we can only control what we can control, he stated during Australia's Olympic trials. He expressed trust in WADA and World Aquatics to investigate thoroughly while emphasizing Australia's commitment to clean sport. Regarding concerns raised by American swimmer Katie Ledecky about confidence in anti-doping measures, Taylor said it's important to hold faith in the system. He also supported his swimmers' right to voice personal opinions on the matter. As far as it's distracting us in the competition, I think it's not a controllable thing for us, Taylor remarked, reinforcing his team's focus on their performances and the integrity of the sport. Ronaldinho has clarified his critique of the Brazilian squad slated for this year's Copa America. In a candid Instagram post, he lamented the team as one of the weakest in recent memory, lacking prominent leaders and comprised mainly of average players. He said, "This is a sad moment for those who love Brazilian soccer. It's increasingly difficult to muster enthusiasm to watch the games." Adding, "I followed football since childhood, long before I became a player, and I've never witnessed such a dire situation. There's a lack of passion for the jersey, determination, and above all, footballing prowess." His remarks sparked surprise, notably from Barcelona's Rafinha, who found them jarring. In response to the backlash, Ronaldinho clarified his intentions behind the criticism, saying he made those remarks to provoke a reaction and that he is now more determined than ever to support Brazil. He also said that the young players are talented and need the support of the Brazilian people. With the Copa America underway, there is a chance to return with the trophy. Well, that's it for today. I'll be back again tomorrow with more BRICS+ sports updates.
And finally, South Africa may not be the coldest place in winter on Earth, but for those who have very little or nothing at all, this time of the year is simply unbearable. As night falls, temperatures can drop to around 0 degrees. And for the homeless, it's a constant battle to try to keep warm, let alone get a meal. Our BGTN correspondent in South Africa, Inga Mzileni, braved a chilly winter's morning to go and see what life is like for the homeless at this time of the year.
This year's winter is predicted to be mainly cold with dry winds. Yes, the sun is out, but the temperatures are nearing freezing points, and this is bad news for the homeless spread out across the country. It's winter in South Africa, and temperatures have already begun to plummet. The days are mostly sunny, but there's often a chilly breeze that bites, and once the cold gets into your bones, it takes a while to warm up again. Temperatures will be slightly warmer than 2023, with lows of around 3 degrees centigrade and highs in the late teens. The mercury will drop to below freezing point on some days. The cold nights are long, and for many, when the sun goes down, there's a daily struggle to keep warm.
We just go and look for firewood, and then we make it. It's very, very cold, man. We look for firewood only just to survive. And then we haven't got no job, no money, no what, no food, no anything.
This is Grace. We've changed her name to protect her identity. She came to Johannesburg from Zambia several years ago and worked as a cleaner in Sandton until the COVID-19 pandemic that resulted in millions of people losing their jobs.
Homeless since 2019. When I lost the job, I was working at the kitchen, Sandton, and then suddenly that corona came. My boss didn't have money. Also, he was out of the complex. You have to take him out. He didn't have anything, not even paying me or what. So I have to go without nothing. And then I took my property I worked with for 5 years, and I keep it for other people there. And then they sold all my things, and I left with nothing. And I went to look for my friends from home, that side of Chuvel. And I stayed there only a few days. She told me because I was like a burden to her. And then she told me that I should go, I mustn't come back. And I asked her, I didn't have any way to go, no money, even I can pay him cook or what. She said she didn't care.
For many, they have no food, no shelter, no warm blankets or warm clothing to brave the often below freezing temperatures in the wee hours. And it's at this time that this gentleman, we will call Tabo, goes to traffic lights to beg for something to eat.
On cool days like this one, it's hard. I don't even know what to do, but I've got to find something to eat. Police used to chase us when we light the fires, but now they realize that we just want to keep warm, and they let us be.
And it's at this time of the year, especially, that we see the desperation of many people like both Tabo and Grace. They only receive a nutritious home-cooked meal once a week on Sundays, when one of the charity organizations provides food for them. Why are so many people being neglected? Reports show that since the start of COVID-19, some charity organizations faced cuts and some shut down altogether due to lack of funding. It's a desperate situation. BGTN has donated a couple of jackets to the homeless people who agreed to talk to us. Tabo and Grace can now brave the cold as they go out every day to make ends meet. Inga Mzileni, BGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
And that's your daily for today. We'll be back again tomorrow with more BRICS+ stories. Until then, check out our website and social media for updates.